Welcome to another episode of Breaking Bias, which I'm not too sure we're going to do because this is a minivan. So I don't really know how much I have to say because this is literally, to me, the sarcophagus of my youth. It's like I'm recently married, which is amazing, but I know in the future I might have to trade in my RX-7 for one of these. So let's just kind of hop into it and see how bad it's really going to be. So it's red now. So we're going to turn on some AC. I'm already kind of surprised and delighted it's push to start. So when you actually get out in your garage and your kids aren't yelling at you, you can kind of enjoy that. And then I don't know about this. I've never seen this in my life. It has a gear shifter sticking out of the dash with no numbers, no nothing. It's just like you're driving some sort of like freaking Volvo like commercial vehicle or something. There's so many windows, I don't know which ones are open and which ones are closed. Surprised there's not a screen for that, because there seems to be a screen for everything else. There's a screen for fuel economy, which I'm not really too sure how to get into that. There's one for vehicle speed as well, but I got a speedometer next to that screen, so I guess I can just do that myself. And I got a screen that says 816, which I'm guessing on a... Oh, he has a turbo diesel Golf. Anyway, he doesn't see me. All right, so we're pulling out here before that guy gets all nuts on us. All right, so this is a Chrysler van of some sort because he forgot to tell me, but I think you can guess. I think these are heated seats, either that or I pull a muscle because my back's getting really hot. I don't know how to turn that off either. So, for somebody that's only 23, I've already established that I need a user manual for this car. Because when you own a van like this, parenthood isn't hard enough. So I'm going to get out on the open road so I don't hit any kids. Because then I probably won't ever get a chance to have kids because I'll be in jail. I need to get comfortable. That lumbar support though. But first impressions on like how everything in here is like, you know, made. Like generally whenever I think of Chrysler, I think of my mom's Sebring, and that was just the absolute worst. By the end of her having it, it was spewing some foam from the inside of the dash. Whenever you turn on the heater or the AC, it said 200 horsepower, but it felt more like 120. It's just heavy and couldn't really work on it because it's cramped and everything's like hidden, like the battery's down the wheel well. It just wasn't a really well thought out car. But I mean, driving this, it kind of feels like my dad just bought a Chrysler 300, like a new like 2014, and that's actually really surprising. But more about this car. So far it rides about as I thought a minivan would, though it's actually not that floaty, and the steering is actually pretty heavy. I thought this thing would steer more like an Avenger, where it's just literally like a circular shape, just there for you to turn and hope you're going in the right direction when you turn your arms all the way around. So let's see how this thing pulls, because this is a V6. Obviously, gotta do a rolling start so you don't wake up the kids. Alright. Got some wheel spin there. Oh, okay. So it's not that fast, but it sure makes a pretty decent sound. And I'd actually like to do that again. Because I don't think it was like ready for me or something. Does it actually have a bump shift? It does. I'm not too sure how. Oh, that's weird. It's got a bump shift, but you gotta make it move left and right. That's new. Alright, so let's try this again. Just so it doesn't really want to listen to whatever you're doing. So I think that's just a good idea to leave alone. And I can't really figure out how to make it go back in the drive without popping it in neutral and popping it back down, so that can't really be good for the transmission either. Because if you buy this, don't bet on having fun with the bump shift. Just keep it in drive. Plus, you probably have kids. I don't think you want to do anything too ridiculous either, especially if you're trying to figure out all these screens and the shifter at the same time. There's a lot to do with this car. And no, it doesn't come with the car seats, I already asked. But now I'm taking it on a dirt road because, I don't know about you guys, but my grandma lives out in the boonies, and you might have to go on a dirt road every once in a while. Alright, so that was kind of freaky. I imagined these big wheels and, you know, just being a van, it'd be soft, but I don't think I've been in something this abrasive on dirt since that lowered cam Mustang I drove not too long ago. Oh my god. Like, if I had kids in the car, I'd have to take them to like a doctor after this, but then again, I'd probably be afraid because they'd probably be accusing me of shaking my baby. That might not be appropriate, but we'll let my boss figure out if he wants to cut that out or not. Chrysler, sponsor of shaken baby syndrome. Yeah, I don't think I can say that. So, I guess biases with this car. One, it's a van, so you'd expect it to be boring. It's not boring. You're gonna be cursing and trying to figure out what button does what while you're cursing and figuring out what your kids are doing at the same time when you drive this car. So, yeah, it's interesting. Maybe not in the way you'd expect. Two, is it slow? It's kind of slow, but at least it makes a good noise. I mean, that Pentastar, I think, V6 is actually kind of peppy, though I imagine this thing weighing, like, I don't know, a lot. It probably has a lot to do with how that feels. Handling? I'm really not too sure. I haven't really thought of that. But if you need to peel out in the traffic, this thing actually turns on a dime, which is really surprising to me. I don't think you'll be doing any autocrosses with this, but it won't make traversing Walmart's parking lot that miserable. I think that's what you really want with this car. So really, this is just about what I thought a minivan would be, except the much higher learning curve than I thought. Because I guess coming from, you know, a performance car, a sports car, just anything that's just kind of like bare bones, wheels on the ground with a 5-speed, this is just like alien. This is like, I feel like I need a separate driver's license to drive something like this, because this thing kind of puts me on edge. Like, I feel like if I don't figure out how to adjust this lumbar support, I'm gonna need to go to the chiropractor, which I think you need to do at whatever age you own this car at anyway. So we'll see. Will I get this whenever I do have kids, which might not be too long? Probably not. I'll probably argue for a long time at least and try and get something more like a crossover, or if I can, like a wagon, because I honestly still don't entirely see the point of these things. Like, my mom had one as a kid, and it just put so much distance between me and my mom, which as a kid I liked because she couldn't hit me, but I don't know. As a dad, I kind of like to be able to see what my kids are doing past all these electronics and all these distractions. So, I don't know. But it's gonna be an adventure, I guess. Alright, so I'm in the garage now. Just like a recap of kind of what we've been over before and during driving. Yes, this is a minivan. No, this isn't some sort of sports car in like minivan's clothing. This isn't like, you know, a Tundra or like, you know, some sort of like newer truck. Like, this is exactly what your mom drove like 6, 10, 15 years ago, depending on how old you are. And it is just as unwieldy and complicated and scary to a growing male as you think it is. It's like, not only are there all these new dials and screens and other things, it is pretty much trying to remind you every single second that you are not driving a sports car anymore, and instead of pushing all these buttons, you should pay attention to your kids. But yeah, is it fast? No, it's not. It sounds cool. I mean, maybe you can make like your kids giggle every once in a while if you just like floor it in front of Brewsters because you don't like any of the other like PTA parents or whatever. Does it handle well? I mean, not really. It just kind of just digs in and absorbs whatever you do, and you end up just slowing down, basically turning as like an extra brake. I wouldn't worry about rolling it over just because the thing's so heavy. But yeah, would I get it? Probably not. If my wife really wanted one, we definitely would. But after driving this, I'm gonna fight tooth and nail to try and get some sort of cool crossover like a wagon. But I'll see you next time. Hopefully driving something a little less depressing. So good night.